Hi there, this is Peter Upfold, and I'm the creator of DfontSplitter, which is a program that converts Mac OS X dfont files into TrueType files, which you can move over to a Windows or a Linux system, and so you can use fonts that you have on the Mac on those other systems. Now, for a while there's been a problem with certain dfont files that you convert with DfontSplitter, in that when you move them over to a Windows system, Windows complains and says they're not proper TTF files. In fact, they aren't. They are some of the files that DfontSplitter converts end up being Mac-formatted TTF files, which are subtly different and different enough to make Windows confused. Now, I found a solution which works for at least some fonts here, and I haven't had any problems with it yet, which uses another third-party program, which I didn't write, called FontForge, as a secondary conversion step. And in this screencast, I'm just going to show you first of all the problem we have, and then how to apply this secondary conversion step and actually get the font you want to work inside Windows. I agree this would be great if this was built into the DfontSplitter application itself, and I'll look into that, but I can't promise anything for the future. But let's have a try with this solution. So let's say I want to have the Helvetica font, which is available here in Mac OS X, on a Windows system. So I'll go and find the font. It's in System Library Fonts, Helvetica.dfont. It's in the dfont format, so hence why we're using this program. And for now I'm just going to extract that to the desktop. And we'll just say convert, and as you can see we get a load of files there. But the ones we're actually interested in for the purpose of this are the TTF files here, and if I just select those all and preview them, you can see we've got all of the different variants. We've got bold, oblique, which is italic, if you don't do the terminology. So those are all the variants that were included in that dfont file, and these files are what they're now TTF files, they're TrueType files. So in theory we should be able to move those over to a Windows system, and Windows should recognize them and install them, and everything should be great. So obviously this isn't going to happen, so let's see what happens instead. I've got a virtual machine running Windows XP Professional Service Pack 3 here. Obviously you probably in real life wouldn't have to do this in virtual machine. This is just purely for my convenience that I can drag and drop files between them right here. It doesn't make any difference that it's a virtual machine. So I'll just copy these TTF files that I've converted in DfontSplitter. I should also point out you don't have to do the conversion on the Mac. You can also use the Windows version of DfontSplitter and then the Windows version of FontForge and follow basically the same process here, but I'm doing it over on the Mac side just because that's where I am. So we have these same files now on the Windows desktop, and if I try and open them, you see we get this: the requested file was not a valid font file, which of course is going to be pretty disappointing because we wanted to use these fonts in Windows. So let's go ahead and just delete these copies that aren't now working from the Windows desktop, and we'll come back to Windows in a moment. Now we're going to now apply this secondary step using a program called FontForge. So let me just open up FontForge there, and it's just going to be a short time loading up. Here we are. So what you have to do here in FontForge is just go browse to where the files are. In my case it's here on my desktop, and I'll start by opening just regular Helvetica. And I apologise, the windows are spawning all over the desktop because this does have a rather unique interface, shall we say. Right, so here you can see all of the different characters that are available in this font. All we're really interested in is going to the File menu and choosing Generate Fonts and just exporting it back out again. So you literally just load it into this program and then export it back out. And here under the format selection you can pick a load of selections. We just need to make sure it's set to TrueType and not TrueType Mac dfont, which is what it is at the moment. So just set it to normal TrueType and Windows should be able to handle it. And I'm just going to save this as Helvetica_Windows. I'm also going to turn off validate before saving because that comes up with a few error messages that I don't care about in this particular case, so I'll just turn that off. Save it, and as you can see here on the desktop I have that new Windows font. It should look exactly the same, it should behave exactly the same, but Windows shouldn't choke on it. Now we just need to repeat this process, I'm afraid, for all the other variants. So I'll open up bold. Again, this is making Windows appear everywhere, but Never mind. Go to File, Generate Fonts, and just check it's on TrueType, and then just save it out again. I'll do the same again for oblique. Okay, we'll just do bold oblique since that's apparently ready. File, Generate Fonts, then just rename it, check it's on TrueType, and save. And I think you get the picture by now. We'll do... Did I just do bold oblique? That's correct, so I'm just going to do oblique, which is the last one remaining. Again, generate fonts, and I'll just give it an underscore Windows. There we are. So that step literally just is loading the font into FontForge, file, generate fonts, and exporting it back out as a sort of regular TrueType rather than a Mac slightly different TrueType. So we've done that. We can actually go ahead and quit FontForge right now. Tell you what, I'll do that later, it doesn't matter for the time being. And we have these underscore Windows versions, which if we just preview them again in quick look, you can see they look exactly the same, they should behave exactly the same. Now if we copy those versions over to Windows, so I'll bring my Windows virtual machine back and I'll just drag those from the Mac desktop to the Windows desktop. Now if I open Helvetica underscore Windows, you can see we don't get an error message. In fact, we get the font we're looking for. So what I can do now is I can go into my computer, I can go into C, Windows, and then Fonts, and I can simply drag these fonts and copy them into the Fonts folder. I've obviously done a test of this screencast earlier, so I've actually already installed them. You won't probably get this message. I'll just say OK. And I do apologise. That didn't go quite to plan, but the point is, in your case, you drag those fonts in, it would copy those fonts in, they'd be all new, so Windows wouldn't complain at you. And then, in theory, we should be able to use those fonts from inside an application. Now, I don't have many applications in this virtual machine, so I'm just going to use WordPad. I should be able to scroll down to Helvetica here. As you can see, it's got TrueType, and I'll just type in Helvetica. I'll just type a few characters which are distinct to Helvetica. G, R, and little a are quite different. And we can just test it's really Helvetica and not just Arial, because we do the same characters in Arial. You can see there's a difference. So we have now copied Helvetica. Well, first of all, we split it from dfont format into Mac TTF format. We then used FontForge to convert that to a regular TrueType file, and then we can copy the files across to Windows, and Windows will accept them, you know, and take them under its wing, as it were. So there we are. That appears to be a solution for converting defonts to Mac TTFs to Windows TTFs, and getting default fonts that you have on the Mac that you want on a Windows system. You can now do that using this method. Now, I appreciate this is a bit of a pain, having to use two applications and going through all the generate steps. It's the best I can do at the moment. I should also point out that you should be sensitive to the licensing of the fonts. You should only really be using fonts that you have copies of on machines that you own, and don't go sharing them around and so on. But that's it. You know, we've solved this problem now. It's a bit of a nasty method, but again, it does actually work. And you know what? I forgot to copy bold across, but that doesn't matter. It will be exactly the same. So I hope this is a solution to the problem that many people have faced with many fonts they've wanted to use on their Windows system. And if you have any comments, feedback, or any better solution to this, or if this works or if this doesn't work, please do let me know. You can find all the contact information at my website, which is peter.upfold.org.uk. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy using the program and enjoy using your new shiny fonts in Windows.